Welcome to Pack the Rock podcast with the Hoosier Network. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, William Stewart. Next to me, Ian Plaskoff, and across from us, Ava Wegenke, Nick Rodecap. Nothing from Nick this week.
I got nothing.
Kept it tame on the camera.
I'm locked in.
How are we feeling this week? It's a rainy Wednesday, but it's not Rat Poison Wednesday.
Football weather. That's what I thought when I stepped outside this morning.
You did?
Fair enough.
Yeah, football weather.
It's got a point.
Hate the rain.
You know who didn't stay for the football weather? Indiana fans at halftime because they were up by 1,000.
Seems to be a common occurrence now.
Yeah.
It's so weird. There was no in-between of like before Indiana fans would leave because the team was so bad, and now Indiana fans leave because the team is so good. There's no happy medium.
It's just.
But it's fine that way. I don't care.
I would say you're going to complain about winning a game by 50.
I would.
Watching a team win by 50.
I would like to have fans in the crowd mic in my broadcast in the second half, but that's just me.
Well, the smallest violin is played for you because you get to broadcast a game where they won by 50. Yeah, about that. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good size.
Getting musical up in here on a Wednesday morning.
Nobody's seen that in that one SpongeBob episode?
I have.
I've seen.
It's
Well,
just
Krabs
been a
did
while.
that.
Yeah, that's
right?
what it was.
Yeah, I just didn't recognize the music. Is that what he does?
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
I've just seen the gif of him doing this. I thought it was just like actual music.
That'll be the new Pack the Rock theme song.
It's just the smallest violin
It
playing.
will be the Pack the Rock theme song. I don't think we have one.
Yeah,
Unless
we
you
don't.
count royalty-free instrumental music.
Oh, there you go.
We do use that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Shout out YouTube Audio Library.
Yeah.
Well, the 8-0 Indiana Hoosiers moved to 5-0 in conference, solely atop the Big Ten at first place after the 56-6 win over UCLA. It's their second time beating a conference opponent by 50 or more this season. They're the only team in the country to beat a team by 50 once, a conference opponent, that is. The Heisman candidate, the Heisman frontrunner, Fernando Mendoza, was 15-22 with a $168, 3 touchdowns and an interception. He also had a touchdown on the ground in a scramble drill. He is a first overall pick candidate. I think he's second to Ty Simpson at the moment. But he leads the country in passing touchdowns with 24, and he's second in the country with a 188.5 passer rating, half a point behind Ohio State's Julian Sayin. Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr. were pretty quiet on Saturday, 4 receptions for 8 yards combined and a touchdown, which went to Elijah Surratt. He is still solely first in the country with 10 receiving touchdowns on the year. E.J. Williams was the favorite target for Fernando Mendoza on Saturday. He had 5 for 109 and 2 touchdowns. The Indiana rushing attack was back, 47 carries, 262 yards and 4 touchdowns, which was led by the Roman Empire. Roman Hemby had 17 carries for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. The defense was stout as usual, obviously held UCLA to 6 points, 3 sacks and 7 tackles for loss to go along with it, and held UCLA to 88 rushing yards and created 2 turnovers. Devin Boykin with his first pick as a Hoosier, and Aiden Fisher with his first pick and first pick 6 as a Hoosier. It's pretty much a blowout, a one-sided game, I would say.
You could say that. I think many
it's
people
a
would
fair
agree,
assumption.
myself included, yeah. You went into that game and thought, UCLA's hot. It's big noon. It'll be good. You know, competitive in the first half. Maybe Indiana will pull away. No. The interview before the game, Jenny Taft asked Kurt Signetti, what do you need to do to get these fans into it or something of the sort? Signetti said, we need to make a couple plays early, especially with the student section. And he also said to attack. And the first 2 plays, a sack and a pick 6, both right in front of the student section, and it was meant to be after that. Indiana really never let up. And shout out Jenny Taft for liking my tweet of Jenny Taft doing that interview. That was cool.
Good plug. Good plug.
Yeah, I mean, after those first 2 plays, it was over. Then, in my eyes, there was nothing that UCLA could have done to get back into that.
I agree. It also felt pretty over by that point.
Yeah, that's. I feel like that's a fair assumption. Nick, do you have anything to add to the beating that happened on Saturday?
So far, I'm 3 for 3 on making predictions and then saying I'm happy to be proven wrong and being proven wrong in a decisive fashion. I will not say what prediction I made. Just know that it was very out of phase from what actually happened. I expected UCLA to have a little bit more of something. They didn't. I think that this game kind of proved that Indiana might be immune to trap games because Curt Cignetti preaches over and over the importance of not being complacent. And the players have clearly bought in. It's one thing for a coach to say something. It's another thing for the players to believe it. And it's very clear that everybody's on the same page with Indiana, as has been the case wherever Cignetti's been seemingly since he's been a head coach. Everybody understands what it takes, and they all buy in, which is not easy for a coach to achieve with other assistant coaches and players alike, but he's done it.
I think the main storyline that was somewhat surprising, at least on the football field, was E.J. Williams. You know, he was the main target, and then the quietness of Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr. What did you see from UCLA's defense that held those two so quiet?
Well, with Surratt and Cooper, these are two of the better receivers, not just in the Big Ten, but in the country. And in a game like this, especially with a Heisman candidate, potentially front-runner quarterback, you may need to throw some extra leverage over near those guys with extra defenders, safeties, whatever, scheme-wise. And that just, with the gravity that Surratt and Cooper command at E.J. Williams, I mean, both of his big receptions on the day were not on the design route that he was supposed to run. It was on improvising.
Scramble drill.
When Mendoza rolled out left, Williams continued to move left across the field. On the deep touchdown, Williams came in on a crosser and then banana peeled back out, and Mendoza found him. It was very similar to the Surratt touchdown against Purdue last year from Curtis Rourke. It's that having that third guy in E.J. Williams who can produce when your top two guys receive so much gravity from the defense. It's the first time we've seen it this year. And then also with Hemby in the run game too. I mean, it's kind of a pick your poison of, all right, do we play normally against Surratt and Cooper and let them beat us up, or do we limit them and force everybody else to beat us up? And it was the latter, and Indiana did indeed use everybody else to beat up UCLA.
UCLA ran into good old-fashioned Big Ten football. I think that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again.
Sig owns them. 2 meetings, he's beaten them by 39 or more points in both meetings on national television. Yikes.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I found an interesting thing after this. I was looking at the crowd, and it was great. And the score at the end of the game with the crowd that was still there. And Indiana has won all 14 home games that it has played under Curt Cignetti. 13 of those 14 were won by 2 scores. And 7 of those 14, yes, 50% of all home games under Curt Cignetti were won by 40-plus points. So UCLA was the latest victim of that, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Which one did they not win by 2 scores?
Michigan.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
That was a fun game.
That was a wild one.
Yeah, that was fun. Except when Curtis threw that pick.
So I feel like that game was just agitating to watch
Yeah.
more than
It was.
anything.
Broadcasting, it was fun.
Sure.
I was with Cruz, and we were high atop Memorial Stadium. That was really fun.
Shout out Cruz Martin, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Michigan game was weird. It was just agitating on both sides. Like, it wasn't like anyone was playing well.
Well,
just,
Davis Warren was Michigan's quarterback. I could have told you their
Yeah,
offense
you
was going
know,
to struggle.
Yeah.
Michigan's defense, and especially their defensive line, just disrupted everything.
Right.
So
Well, when you have, a top 5 pick and then
Shout out
however
Mason
many
Graham.
first-round picks were on that defensive line.
this was another interesting thing about that Michigan game. It was the one that wasn't a 2-score win. It was also the only one of the last 4 national spotlight games in Bloomington that was not started with a non-offensive touchdown. You had the Fisher pick 6 last game. You had the Pons punt block in the Illinois game. And then the Michigan game was the exception. And then the one before that was the Pons Washington pick 6. It was big noon for UCLA.
And Washington.
And Washington was game day.
And Big Noon.
Mm-mm.
Wasn't it?
It was
was
Big
just-
Ten
It was on
Network,
BTN.
but
It
it
was
was,
on BTN.
Oh,
but
it was a
was
national
right.
spotlight on game day.
Shout out
Game day.
Guy Haberman. at the
Illinois
call.
was NBC, and then Michigan was a CBS, and that didn't happen there. But it was interesting. 3 out of the last 4 have been non-offensive touchdowns to start.
Huh. That leads me to something that we can talk about. Brian Haynes.
Clown shoes.
Yeah. The guy who's been active on Twitter in recent weeks, the Indiana defensive coordinator. The talk around town, or at least the rumor around town, is does he leave Indiana? Now, from what Sig has said in recent pressers, obviously he doesn't want to let him go with the new contract negotiations and the clause of the good faith clause where the coaching staff stays within the top 10, I believe it is. The top 10 coaching staff annual value.
It's at least that, if not higher.
Right.
At least that, if not higher.
So I'm just going to throw this out into the discourse world, and you can do what you want with this question. Does Brian Haynes even consider leaving, or what would it take for him to leave?
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
Money that a group of 5 program likely doesn't have for a head coach. I think it would have to be a Power 4 job. And realistically, he doesn't have any head coaching experience, I believe. I don't think he does.
No, he doesn't.
So I don't for the amount of money that Indiana has for its assistants, it's one of the highest salary pools in the country. It's up there with Ohio State. I don't know if it's eclipsed Ohio State, but it's up there. You're going to need to basically give him a blank check to hire him as a head coach. And I really don't think that there are any programs high enough up that have the money that would be willing to take the risk on a first-time head coach like Brian Haynes. I think somebody's going to give him an offer. It's going to be like a make him say no kind of situation. But I don't see Haynes leaving yet. Now, if the right job opens up and somebody's willing to write him a really big check, maybe. He'd certainly be one of the best candidates. But I don't see the fit anywhere, just from a money standpoint.
See, I say never. I mean, you might not see that there's a right fit, and I do think that it's going to take a lot of money to get him to go somewhere. But there are just a lot of coaching jobs opening up in general. Now, if you want to become a head coach in today's day and age right now, I think that's something you've really got to think about because, you know, with it being a 12-team playoff, it's almost like if your team's not making it in the playoff or if you're not having a really, really successful run, it just feels like every coach is then automatically on a chopping block. So it's a hard landscape to be in right now. But I wouldn't say never. I think he's definitely obviously getting some looks, getting some offers. You know, with Sig's contract, that good faith clause that they put in there, I think that really helps Indiana in keeping him. And obviously, you know, Sig talked very, very highly of him in his press conference this week and, you know, what it means to keep him and stuff. So I think that you're going to see a lot of fight from Indiana to keep him. But I mean, I'd like to say that he'd stay, but I also say never. You know, especially if this team makes a really far run into postseason and you accomplish a lot of goals, then, you know, what makes you think why not try to go do that at a higher level?
Brian Haynes is making $2 million as a defensive coordinator at Indiana. If you look
annually, right?
Annually.
Yep.
The head coaches that are making $2 million, that would, if he was his salary at exactly $2 million, I don't know what the change is or what the bonuses are, but that would make him the 71st highest paid head coach in college football, which right now is Bronco Mendenhall of Utah State. Trent Bray commanded $2,008,000. He was just fired. Jay Norvell, $1.9 million. He was just fired. But Brian Haynes, if he wants to become a head coach, is going to want to be above that $2 million mark. And that would put him at the bottom of the Power 4 schools and the top of the Group of 5 schools. You look at Alex Golesh from South Florida, $2.5 million. Dan Mullen at UNLV, $3.5 million. This is all in the like 60 to 70 range of where coaches are. It being paid annually in salary. Here's some Power 4 schools. Like Scott Satterfield's making $3.7 million at Cincinnati. And here's the lowest SEC school, Clark Lee, Vanderbilt, 3.7. Like Brian Haynes is probably going to want that kind of money. And these openings are likely not going to be there other than like a Virginia Tech where Brent Pry was making $4.78 million. But with a guy like with no head coaching experience, I don't see it. I think with the good faith clause, Brian Haynes will be more than happy to be paid $2+ million and not be the 70th highest paid head coach in college football.
Also, the Oregon State spot's kind of interesting because they just fired their head coach.
They have nothing.
They'd have no money.
Oregon State has nothing. That program is in the dumpster, especially considering they don't have a conference. And sure, the Pac-12 is going to come back, but it's going to be way weaker than it used to be. That would be a really stupid move. I mean, the apples to oranges here for a second, but Tino Sunseri, he was the only assistant to leave, if memory serves, and he got fired in 3 weeks at UCLA. He was making more money, but not for long. Maybe he got a buyout. I don't know. But the grass is not always greener. I think Tino, unfortunately, found that out the hard way.
What are the odds that he comes back, too?
0.
Negative. Okay.
Chandler Whitmer's doing a pretty good job.
The
Yeah, I
only
feel like that's a fair
possible thing
assumption.
it could be is like an offensive consultant analyst type thing.
Yeah.
But there's no point.
I see that, but I see him like as a quarterbacks coach again or anything like that.
Anywhere else,
Negative.
hairstyling
I
coach.
don't know. You left. Like
You could be a barber.
Could be a barber. Is
Yeah.
wild. I just figured I'd pitch the idea, sitting here talking about coaches that could potentially leave. Again, that's all rumor mill. No one has any idea what's going to happen. It's also week 8, and college football playoff rankings come out within a week.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday. So excited. Very excited.
Yippee.
Ava, are you excited?
I'm very excited.
I couldn't
I'm
tell.
ready for another opinion other than this AP poll.
Shout out to the AP poll. It's about to come up in the rundown. Quite
Gross.
literally is the next thing on the agenda. Indiana's still number 2 in the country. Actually, before I even get to the rest of the Big Ten, what do you guys think about them not jumping Ohio State? Because there's
Okay.
discourse about that.
They did what they were supposed to do against UCLA. Ohio State was never going to get jumped just because they didn't play. I don't. Ohio State is, at least on paper, a better team than Indiana. Better defense. Best defense in the country. That's why they didn't get jumped.
I'm going to travel down south to the world of Greg Sankey and company
Oh,
here.
no.
If Ohio State did not win the national championship last year, I think Indiana would be one. But you can't.
Would it be because Ohio State is still coasting off preseason because they were ranked so high to start the season? Because they won the national championship?
I mean, they're
Yeah,
the defending
that's it.
national champion.
Yeah, I'm not saying they didn't deserve it.
No, because they won the national championship, they're not going to get jumped just for not playing.
Right.
Yeah, no, and they shouldn't get jumped for not playing.
Yeah.
If Indiana was on a bye and Ohio State killed UCLA and Indiana got jumped, then people would be upset.
If Ohio State did not win the national championship, I could make the case that Indiana should be one. But Ohio State won. They have not lost, so they're going to stay there.
I agree with Ian.
I mean, they're the best. They're the best. They have the best defense in the country.
Right.
It's not even close. They're allowing 5.9 points per game. That's insane.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. They've allowed 217 yards per game. By way of comparison, Indiana's top 5 in points
Both
allowed
those
per
metrics,
game,
yeah.
and they've allowed about 25 more yards per game. You consider garbage time kind of confuses those statistics a little bit, but
Well, and Indiana's 7th in yards per game allowed. They're
Yeah.
at 243.
yeah, I'm not saying Indiana's defense is bad.
No,
They're
but
one of the best
that's
in the
just how
country.
much more ridiculous Ohio State is.
Yeah, Wink Martindale, shout out.
Anyways, I just want to make sure there was common sense amongst the room. I did see the discourse over the last week, and I'm like, why would you jump the national champions when they haven't lost?
Yeah.
Why would that?
People love to find things to be upset about.
What's new?
Just look at my mentions after the Brian Haynes thing. Yeah, rough.
What is new is the AP poll a little bit. Oregon's still at number 6. Michigan is now 21st. And that is the end of the Big Ten teams in the AP poll. Iowa, Washington, and Illinois are receiving votes. Illinois has been in and out of the bottom 5 of the top 25 for the last 2 weeks, so they're in a weird spot.
Iowa should be ranked.
Iowa's
Rank the Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
I think Iowa's second in the most votes received last week without being ranked.
Yeah, they
They
have
had like 60
a
or something.
very compelling case to be ranked, and I'm kind of surprised that they're not. Mark Gronowski and the Iowa offense seem to have figured something out. And I mean, if you're an Indiana fan, you're rooting for Iowa the rest of the season because the more the Hawkeyes win, the better Indiana's win over them looks at Kinnick, because Kinnick is a very difficult place to win, and I think we've established that. But no, I was surprised that Iowa was not at least in the bottom of the AP poll because they killed Minnesota.
Well, how it is shaken out at the moment before Ian makes his point. And Navy is 26th. This is based, so they're first in the amount of votes received at 86. Tulane has 59 in second place. Washington has 46 in third, and Iowa is fourth, 27.
How did Washington get more votes than Iowa?
I'm not a voter. I don't know.
I want to know that.
That is an indictment on how little the AP voters actually follow college football because Washington. Wait, did they beat Illinois? Yeah, they beat Illinois.
Washington, I believe,
Yeah,
killed
they
Illinois.
did. They killed
Yeah.
Illinois.
Hence why Illinois has 3 votes and
Okay.
is at the
Oh.
bottom of the poll.
Yeah.
Look at the Dukes.
Yeah, that
And
actually
right
makes
above
sense.
them, JMU at 9
Yeah.
with 9.
Jury disregards. But no, Iowa can still technically make the Big Ten championship. They have an outside shot. They're 4-1, same conference record as Oregon and Michigan. So effectively, if they went out, say Oregon loses again and Ohio State loses, there might be a tiebreaker scenario where, they
So
play Oregon.
I would say, so you're saying that they beat Oregon
They
and
host
Kinnick this
Oregon at
weekend.
Kinnick. Yeah, and then they win out.
It's going to be a banger of a game.
Yeah,
It's going to be good.
Iowa could win the Big Ten, or could win the Big Ten. They could make the
Oh,
Big Ten
it could.
championship. Yeah.
I think about often, actually, another trip down south here. If Mark Gronowski didn't get hurt at the end of the Indiana game and was able to play the final drive for Iowa, what would have happened there?
Let me go play CFB 26 and report
Yeah,
back
we'll
to
do
you.
that.
Let me run a couple
We'll
sims.
use that as the official ruling of what happened in that game. But no, it's interesting. I mean, Iowa, that is a quality loss to Indiana. That's the only conference loss. They did lose to Iowa State early in the season before they really had that offense figured out. But
Was that the overseas game? No.
No, it was the
No.
That was
Cyhawk game.
Kansas State.
Iowa looks like a well-oiled machine. And Iowa with an offense is one of the scarier prospects of college football because you know their special teams and defense is going to be good.
Caden Weechen is so good,
Yeah.
man.
I want to see them ranked at some point. I think they have a shot against Oregon, especially at Kinnick. Yeah,
Is that next weekend or is that this weekend?
this weekend, I
That's
think.
this weekend.
This weekend?
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that's a 7:30 game. So we
Wait,
get
no,
to
no, it's next weekend.
Next, I was going to say
Saturday, November 8th.
Yeah,
It's
Iowa, I
next
think, is on a
weekend.
bye.
We got
Okay.
too excited there for a second.
Well, that's going to be a good game either way. That's going to be really fun.
Yeah, the standings of the Big Ten are definitely interesting, to say the least, I think is the way I'd put it.
You
Especially
have
Iowa and Michigan are tied for third with Oregon at 4-1. USC is in, this would be what, 6th technically? Yes.
there are so many
3-1.
ties because when you have an 18-team conference, you have a lot of bloat in the middle. Who knew?
Yeah, there's about, let's count it out
There
together,
are
shall we?
5 teams who are 3-2.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
That's
Illinois
stupid.
at 2-3.
Yikes.
Yeah, that blowout win looks less surprising by the week.
Yeah, well, it was funny because Bert was trying to make a case. Well, our only losses are to Ohio State and Indiana. I think we could have a shot at an at-large bid in the CFP. And then what happened when you went to Seattle?
You lost.
There were, in the golden age, 10 teams in the Big Ten.
That hasn't been the
Now
case
there
since
are 4
1993.
winless teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Penn State, Michigan State, Purdue, and Wisconsin don't have a win. That is 4 teams when in the originally named Big Ten that are winless
And
in
there's-
conference play.
2 with 1 win.
Well, the Big Ten hasn't
Notably,
had
5 of those 6 teams that are at the bottom of the conference round out Indiana's schedule.
There are
Yeah.
7 teams with sub 500 conference records.
the Big Ten hasn't had 10 teams since 1992.
Yeah, I
Pretty
know.
sure because they added Penn State in 93 and that made it 11. Then they had that cool logo for a while where it spelled out Big Ten, but you saw the 11 in the silhouette. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But then the moment they added, it was Nebraska first, if I remember right.
Yep.
And then
Rutgers.
Rutgers and Maryland that brought it to 14.
Rutgers.
Yeah. Hey,
Rutgers.
after that, it was just kind of a,
Yeah, no, I was just reflecting on. I think of that old cartoon with all the retro logos wearing their sweaters. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like, oh, the golden age.
yeah.
Hey, Plaskoff,
Yeah.
how many sub 500 teams were there?
Was it 7?
Yeah. How many of these teams did Indiana play?
6,
Out of how many?
7.
Well, my counterpoint to that, first of all,
Stu.
very funny. But my counterpoint to that is Indiana was in the Big Ten East when the Big Ten had divisions. So Indiana and Michigan State was still good for most of the time that the Big Ten had divisions. So Indiana had to play Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, and Michigan every year.
The gauntlet.
Yeah, every year. And the Big Ten West was a joke. So I would say that this is water finding its level. Indiana playing some of the worst teams in the Big Ten. Because Indiana was a doormat for Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, and Penn State nearly every year when the Big Ten had divisions. And even Rutgers sometimes. That's how bad they were. So this is the universe's way of evening things out. And I don't want to hear anything from anyone about, oh, Indiana's in the Big Ten and the Big Ten sucks, dude. Indiana went into Autzen Stadium and mauled Oregon in the trenches in that second half and beat them. That is the best win in the country. And I will not hear any further arguments. That alone makes up for everything else. And they blew out Illinois on national television by 53 points or whatever it was. So, I don't know. Indiana's handled everything in front of them, and I'm off my soapbox because Indiana deserves a little bit of a break after being the whipping boy of the Big Ten East for so long.
I'm going to go on my very short soapbox here. I cannot believe I just got led on a 6-7 train by William Stewart.
I'm surprised you didn't see it.
I did not see that coming at all, no. I mean, yeah, they have played 6 of the 7 worst teams in the Big Ten, yeah.
I just can't wait for the Henry
Or they have
Thuss
played or will
incoming
play.
text.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're on the schedule.
yeah,
Yeah, at one point or another.
unfortunate. Man,
You just said.
I got to be more aware.
Well, you're like they've played 17. You're like they've played 7 teams. There's 7 teams under 500. I'm like, wait, they played. I'm gonna make
Ava, it's not 3-4, right? Not 4-5, not 3-4.
You know, we're trying to start a new trend around here. Why is it always got to be 6-7? Why can't we just use different numbers? I'm trying to get Plaskoff to do it. He wasn't doing it very
When
good
was this
yesterday.
discussion had?
Yesterday.
Oh,
Ava
no.
was big on the 3-4.
Yeah, 3-4. Why
That's-
not?
Like a 3-4
I'm
defense.
so over 6-7. We had the discussion last week.
I
We
just
don't need to have it
think
again.
numbers should be funny, but here we are.
Oh my gosh, I can't get a word out.
You
these
say
days.
that, and then you lead me purposely down that train of thought on the.
Solely because I'm gonna get a text from Henry Thuss.
Okay.
In roughly, I don't
just
know when this is
don't get
going.
it.
5 o'clock.
I have
so-
one right now.
Yeah, it was that too. But was that solely for the bit? Absolutely.
Okay.
Do I like the joke? No.
Fair enough.
But here we are.
You know, I'd like to go on. I'd like to go
Play
on
the song.
a minor tangent for a sec. We dunk on Greg Sankey a lot, but he actually made a good point yesterday. He's pushing the NCAA to rescind the rule allowing players to bet on pro sports. And I think they actually delayed when that becomes legal. It's now supposed to be in late November, which to me signals that they're kicking the can down the road and eventually it just won't happen, which it shouldn't happen because betting is stupid and bad in its current state. But this is like that headline from The Onion where it says, heartbreaking, the worst person you know just made a great point. And it's Greg Sankey actually doing something right and saying, you know, maybe allowing athletes to bet on any sports is bad. And so I applaud Greg Sankey for that.
I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I brought up this point earlier. We talked about this in a class of mine. How easy would it be? Like, when these guys are teammates, it's not like they just don't acknowledge each other's existence when one of
Right.
them goes to a pro league. Like, I was thinking about, you know, it's never.
Omar texts Keyshawn.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Omar Cooper
Williams.
texts Miles Price or Keyshawn Williams, like, hey, what's the injury report like in Pittsburgh or in Minnesota? Like,
Insider
it's
information.
so easy to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, shout out Greg Sankey for the first time ever. Yeah, I'm in agreement
Let's
there.
say somebody texts Curtis Rourke. And there's
How many 49ers are hurt this week?
there's like an insider report. Yeah, we're saying this guy's questionable, but he's going to be ruled out later this week. You could totally bet on that information before it becomes public. This all goes back to the pandemic when cities or local governments were like, betting would allow for an increase in economic activity. Let's legalize it. And now we're realizing, wagering on sports from your phone might be bad for the integrity of sports. I'm looking at you, NBA and NFL, after the Jalen Hurts tush-push fumble. Don't even get me started on that. But betting is stupid and bad, and I'm glad somebody with as much power as Greg Sankey stepped up and said, hey, we need to kind of maybe pump the brakes on this. Good for him.
Well, to pull away from the SEC now that Nick's off the soapbox and back to the Big Ten, and to next week, or Saturday next week, I'm tripping. Indiana plays Maryland on Saturday at 3:30 on CBS.
Correct.
It's 3:30. Look at that. I do know. Maryland was on bye last week. Before that, they lost 20-17 to UCLA. They lost really in the final seconds when Nico Iamaleava
Oh, he did it. He did it.
run the parade. When he led them on a drive in the final seconds, which was due to their defense and defensive backs not being able to play man coverage, which is something that their defense can't really do. But I'll get into that in a minute. Their offense, for lack of better terms, is just a basic spread offense, but the freshman quarterback Malik Washington can go under center. He is a freshman. That is the huge highlight, a true freshman at that, and he is an elite athlete to say the least. There's probably a more selective word than elite, but I don't have a better word in the vocabulary. He's fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic.
He's 6'5", 230, and I would assume his 40 is somewhere in the low to mid 4-second range. He can get out of the pocket. He extends a lot of plays. He does love to throw over the middle and find his safety valve, but again, he's a freshman quarterback. He has made questionable throws here and there, especially when defenses have disguised their zone cover look, whatever it may be. The thing with Indiana, they run a lot of man, so they probably won't do that much. The Maryland rushing attack, not great. And by not great, I mean terrible. They're last in the Big Ten at 101 yards per game. So there's not much help for Malik Washington, even though his fellow freshman running back I can't think of his name all of a sudden.
Well, you got DeJuan Williams.
DeJuan Williams,
Nolan
yes.
Ray.
DeJuan Williams is huge. I don't know how they're not running for more yards. That dude is also a freak athlete.
Yeah, 5'11", 215 as a redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Maryland offense is very, A, predictable, and B, just not explosive. Two large issues that you find it in an offense. And their defense is a 4-2-5, just like basically the rest of college football anymore, and they're constantly sending pressure. Watching a few games back, it felt like there was always 5 or 6 guys standing in the trenches, mugging up the offensive line, and it would always be at least 4 that get sent, whether it's the corner or the nickel or 2 of the outside backers or a middle backer up the middle. There's always 5 or 6 guys staring at the offensive line and the quarterback, which leads to them being top 3 in sacks, and I think top 10 in the nation. They got 22 on the year. They lead the Big Ten in interceptions with 14, and they're second nationally because of all the pressure that their front 7 is putting onto these quarterbacks. But they allow 230 passing yards per game because they're in zone a lot early, but the pressure from the defensive line has messed up a lot of quarterbacks. But like I was saying earlier, they get man in the second. They go man-to-man in the second half, and their corners get beat consistently. Hence why Nico was able to drive down the field within 28 seconds and beat Maryland 2 weeks ago. Nick, you've watched a lot of film on this game. What are your impressions of Maryland?
It's interesting. I was listening to Mike Loxley talk about this team and kind of, they're on a 3-game losing skid. They had the bye week. And he's talking about how the last 3 losses that they've had have been a lot more on themselves rather than their opponents, whether that's Washington, Nebraska, or for some reason the third opponent is slipping my mind.
Who they lost to?
Yeah, it was Washington, Nebraska, and UCLA. Thank you. UCLA is that forgettable. But he was talking about also how injuries came back to bite them late in the UCLA game. He said, I think they lost 6 starters before the final drive, including Jalen Husky, who leads them in interceptions. He was ejected for targeting earlier in the second half, which is big because that means he will not be available for the first half against Indiana. So at free safety, you'll see a true freshman, Messiah Delhomme, get the start. But the thing that's interesting about Maryland is that Malik Washington, he is clearly very talented. But this might be kind of a situation where Indiana is fortunate to play Maryland this year and not next year because Washington is clearly going to be very good. He's just not quite 100% there yet. Now, he enrolled in the spring, so he's a semester ahead of where other freshmen would be. But he said, moving forward, Washington, he said he's looking to use his legs more. And he prides himself, he said, on being composed. But
he said that this week?
Yeah, he said it this week. But in order for Washington to be able to step up in the pocket and use his legs more, and to have more success, Maryland's talked about it. They need to establish the run, and they just can't do that. They can't run the football. I mean, DeJuan Williams, talked about him, huge. 83 carries. He's only averaging 3.5 yards a carry this year. By way of comparison, Roman Hemby is averaging about 5.4 yards per carry. Kalen Black is over 6 yards per carry.
That's ridiculous.
Kobe Martin's at like 9.
Yeah. Nolan Ray, Maryland's RB2, averaging 3.8 yards per carry. So they cannot run the ball consistently, and that's going to make them maybe really one-dimensional. Now, Malik Washington's only been sacked, I think, twice all year, but Maryland's offense, 12th in the Big Ten, scoring-wise, last in rushing efficiency, terrible on third downs, 37%, bottom 3 in the Big Ten. Indiana, by way of comparison, the best third down offense in the Big Ten at 58%. So Maryland gets behind the chains a lot, and they just cannot establish consistent offensive rhythm, especially late in games. They can't close out games. I was doing the math earlier. A lot of close losses, plus 114-point differential in the first 3 quarters, minus 37 in the fourth quarter. And Loxley's talking about how, with the injuries, especially on defense, you've got younger guys that have to step up, and the inexperience is coming back to bite them. You think about Indiana, a very veteran team, ton of redshirt juniors, redshirt seniors. I think Maryland might be overmatched in that respect this weekend, especially with what Bryant Haynes is going to throw at Washington. Because Dante Moore, you think about Oregon, Dante Moore struggled with those simulated pressures. He completely missed a couple really open reads because he had rushers in his face. It's going to be difficult for Washington this weekend.
And I think, because I was thinking about that, because Sig brought up the point differential thing on Monday. And I was sitting, I'm like, how do you, win the first 3 quarters by so much this far into the season, and you're still hardly 500? Watching it back, it's because of how much pressure comes in the second half from other teams. Their front 5 are just not great, which relates back to the problem of not being able to run the ball. And not to mention Malik Washington, under pressure, has had some lapses. But the defense is also just, it feels like they just get figured out by halftime because their DBs just can't play man that late into the game. Obviously, with the the UCLA game's a little bit of an exception. But Maryland just gets, flat out beat almost everywhere in the fourth quarter for some reason.
Yeah.
And there is, I don't know if it's just an accumulation of hits and they're just broken down by that point, but it's really just fascinating to actually watch in real time, as bad as it is for Maryland.
Part of it is I think Maryland has a ton of youth on its defensive front. Zahir Mathis, D.D. Holmes, Sidney Stewart, Nasir Taylor. 4 guys who get a lot of playing time. Nasir Taylor just got his first career start. Those 4 are either true freshmen or redshirt freshmen. They're really, really young. Their middle linebacker, Trey Reddick, is a true sophomore. Carlton Smith, another linebacker, he's a true freshman. Messiah Delhomme, that free safety, he's going to start because Jalen Husky's out, true freshman. They have so much youth on this team, and it's. I think that's a big part of what's coming back to bite them.
That's what it's starting to seem like.
Yeah.
Ian, you're also preparing for this game in a sense for the radio. Mm-hmm. What have you seen from Maryland?
Well, I was more focusing on like what we were talking about with the run game. And you look at Indiana's defense, and this is a defense that continually says that the foundation of everything is stopping the run. And once they do that, they can go run fun things and try and force turnovers. It's going to be a lot easier against this Maryland team, especially without the ability to run the ball. Also a young quarterback. I just see this Indiana defense feasting on the inexperience of Malik Washington. And then on the flip side, this is an extremely old, in a sense, Indiana offense with lots of veteran players, and it's the opposite for Maryland's defense. I think that this will be one of the more intricate game plans for Indiana in that they will be able to do some fun things they haven't done before. I think there will be a lot more nuance to the offensive game plan and the defensive game plan because these players can handle it. And I don't know if Maryland's young freshman, sophomore players, especially on defense, can. So that's what I'm looking at. Now, obviously, Maryland's offensive line is good in pass protection. The defensive line and the front 7 are good at getting sacks and forcing turnovers in the back end. But with this Indiana team, it's just hard for me to see a veteran squad like this struggle against such a young squad in Maryland.
It's funny you bring up that you think Indiana might try some different stuff because that's what Devin Boykin hinted at in the end of the press conference yesterday. I asked him,
He did do that.
What stands out to you about Maryland? And he said, well, they got a talented quarterback. He's physical. He can make all the throws. Same kind of stuff that Sig said. But he said, he kind of looked at me and smirked a little bit. He said, we're going to try some stuff. We're going to do some different things. And it just kind of speaks to how Bryant Haynes just keeps expanding his arsenal when it comes to Indiana's defensive game plan. There's so many different things that they can throw at you. And I don't know what Malik Washington is going to see this weekend, but I have a feeling that he's going to see something pre-snap maybe that Indiana has not put on tape yet. And that could be it'll be interesting to see how he handles that.
I also think back to Dante Moore. This is not a young quarterback by any means, but he still has not played too much in college football. And you saw what Indiana threw at him. with dropping nose tackles into coverage, bringing corners in on the blitzes. I think we'll see something very similar, if not more, out there from Bryant Haynes. And, I think it could get a little interesting in that front seven.
Yeah, but what do you think we'll see on Saturday?
I mean, I think that this Maryland team is super undisciplined. They are not a very disciplined team at all. You're going against an Indiana team who is very disciplined. You know, you've all made some really great points about its youth versus some older players, and I definitely think that's going to play a part in it. But this will come in my score prediction, but I really see this I don't know. I think that some people think that this game is going to give Indiana more trouble than what it should. I really don't believe that. Indiana has shown a lot this season that things that should have given them trouble have not. And so I really do put some trust in this team that they are going to be just fine. And I think ultimately at the end of the day, what really will kill Maryland is the fact that they are so undisciplined.
You know what? We'll just stay with you. And we're just going to go straight to the score prediction.
Perfect.
What do you got? You sound prepared.
That's my rant. 42-10. I had my rant pulled up. I had my rant pulled up. No, it's my prediction is 42-10. I'll give it to Maryland to score a touchdown in their own stadium and maybe, kick a 3-pointer. But I really think 42 points is where I'm at for Indiana. I don't know if they'll hang another 50 on them. I could see this team playing a lot like Michigan State, and that I would honestly compare it that what you saw from the Michigan State game this year is going to be about what you're going to see at Maryland, but Indiana, playing it with a little bit more finesse.
Nick, and I'll go to you to follow up the score predictions. Just going right into it.
Yeah, Maryland. You talk about the discipline; it's pretty bad. Second most penalty yards per game in the Big Ten, about 63.
Damn.
Indiana, as Kurt Signetti has established, smart, disciplined, poised, they don't get penalized very much at all. 30 penalty yards per game, which is top 3 in the Big Ten. Indiana's offense is, on paper, it's interesting because Fernando Mendoza didn't have a great game against UCLA.
No.
Just volume-wise. He accounted for 4 touchdowns, yes, which is a great game. But volume-wise, he wasn't that good, but he didn't have to be.
No,
Indiana's
when you
rushing
only have to go
attack
half the field every other drive, too.
Yeah, Indiana's rushing attack was great. The drives were pretty short. Maryland forces a lot of turnovers, but you consider the quarterbacks that they've faced, and the only one that's really anything to write home about is Washington's DeMond Williams Jr. Danny O'Neal, as much as I like him because he's from Cathedral, not good. Dylan Raiola threw 3 picks against Maryland, and they still couldn't beat Nebraska. Give me Indiana 56 to... did I go 56-6? I'll say 56-9 over Maryland. 56-9, 3 field goals. Or 4 safeties and a 1-point safety. You never know.
We're just doing ridiculous math out here. All right, Plaskoff, what do you got?
I think Indiana will dominate this game, but I think there are going to be a couple hiccups along the way. I mean, Maryland's defense is capable of turning the ball over, or forcing teams to turn the ball over. Timely sacks could play an interesting part in Maryland field position. I think Maryland will score twice. I'm still on the fence if it'll be a touchdown and a field goal, 2 touchdowns or 2 field goals. And I think I'm going to pick the middle ground there and go with the 10 for the Terps. And then as for Indiana, I think they'll take advantage of this young defense. And we're going to go a flashback to Michigan State 2024 and go 49-10 Indiana.
Wasn't that 47-10?
Never mind. We're not flashing back to Michigan State in 2024. 49-10 Indiana. That remains.
Also, quick little news break. Fernando Mendoza is now sub 200 odds to win the Heisman, plus 185 on FanDuel. Julian Sayin and Ty Simpson, both plus 400. Somehow Diego Pavia is still on the top 5 in odds.
Where's Diego Pons at?
Certainly Diego Pavia is not the only Diego P. college football player that is good
and relevant.
I would argue that Diego Pavia is not good.
Or that.
He put up a stinker.
Oh, but he scored this touchdown that almost was a touchdown.
If you ignore the 5 missed holding calls.
Plaskoff, if you want to enlighten the audience of what you're referring to.
Diego Pons?
Huh? The if thing.
Oh, yeah. Diego Pavia made some crazy play. that didn't count, and it got posted by SportsCenter or
I think it was
ESPN
SEC
or something.
Network.
It was like, imagine if this counted.
It's like Fox Sports posting Shohei Ohtani swinging and missing on a high fastball. Like, okay, great. It could have been cool, but it wasn't.
Right.
If I had wheels, I'd be a bicycle, but I don't. Like, what are we doing?
This comes up, this bicycle
What is it
thing.
with hypothetical discourse now in sports? It's so stupid.
Alabama beats preseason number 13 South Carolina. Nobody's hotter than the Crimson Tide.
You know what?
That was wild.
You know what? Okay, we can play this game with Indiana. Let's see.
Preseason number 9.
Let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to remember when Nebraska won its last national championship. It was like 1995.
I was going to say 93. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. So last year, Indiana beat 1995 national champion Nebraska 56-10 on national television. Big whoop. Indiana beat 1953 coaches poll national champion UCLA 56-6 last week. Who cares? Who cares? It's so stupid. Indiana beat newly bowl eligible for the first time ever Kennesaw State in week 2. So, who cares? It's stupid. It's so stupid. And the fact that some people eat it up and they're like, oh, let's see. Indiana beat 2021 AP poll number 9 Michigan State at home last week.
Beat 2023 national champion.
Yeah.
Michigan at home.
Yeah.
Even though it was a different football team.
Exactly. It's so stupid. It is so stupid. It's shameless, too. It's like, oh, wow, the SEC is trying to inflate their numbers again. At least try to make it believable. They can't do that.
We got 2 Rodecap soapboxes in one episode. It's a special day.
Sports media discourse has gotten so bad. So bad. So bad. Oh, I know.
No, he's not done.
Indiana beat 2024 top-seeded college football playoff participant Oregon 30-20 this season. See, we can do this all day.
And Big Ten champion.
Big Ten, they beat 2024 Big Ten champion Oregon on the road earlier this month. Great. Indiana beat 2023 Big Ten championship game participant Iowa 20-15 at Kinnick. See?
In preseason number 9, Illinois.
See how stupid this sounds?
11-time NCAA basketball champion UCLA. They
Yeah.
beat by 50.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you see how stupid you sound when you seriously try to say stuff like that? Because I know I sound stupid. Some people hear that and they think, oh, I'm making a good point. They shouldn't be allowed to speak. Yeah, I said it. First Amendment, optional.
Okay, well, what's your score?
Yeah, back to the score predictions. We're questioning the First Amendment here.
What's your score prediction, Will?
I thought the Maryland-Michigan State comp is very accurate because it feels like now, are they as undisciplined as Michigan State?
Potentially.
Potentially. Do I feel like Mike Locksley's in the same spot as Jonathan Smith? Probably. Is he doing the lack of coaching that Jonathan Smith and Aiden Childs have? Kind of. So maybe it is the same team. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go with almost the same score.
Copycat.
You said 42-10, didn't you?
You're going to copy Ian. Give your prediction.
What'd you say?
49-10.
I'm not going. Oh, the score of the Michigan State game 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
Oh,
Fair.
that Michigan State
Didn't
team.
even like
Fair.
that
The
one.
2025 Michigan State team.
Yeah, the actual.
Can you remind us of that score?
I think it was 35-13.
38.
Was it 38?
38.
Well, I'm going to just straight up almost copy the score. I'm going to go Indiana 38. Maryland, I'm going to go 10.
I don't mind that. So we
I
have
almost
3
don't.
tens.
Actually, I'm going to go 6. I don't even think.
Okay.
Nah, I'm going 6. What did you say? 6?
I said 56-9.
I'm going to go 6.
Field goals.
All right, I'm going 38-6.
Kennesaw State score.
Okay.
So to recap, I said 38-6 because we had Nick's soapbox in the middle of it.
49-10.
42-10.
56-9.
And there's the score predictions. And now the update, because I skipped over that because we went straight to the score predictions. In first place was the person that led off with the score predictions,
Me.
Miss Wegenke, 9 points. In second place is Ian, myself, a point behind at 8. And Nick is in fourth with 5.
Still time to come back.
I am the only player that has gotten every winner right.
I mean,
What?
it's not exactly
Oh.
rocket science.
Who'd you pick? You picked Oregon
Because
one week.
I picked Oregon that one week.
8 for 8.
I'm still
That's
in the
an
lead.
ethical 8, if anything.
It's like Pacers basketball.
Just
Except
ethical
not
hoops.
now because they have no guards.
Who else got hurt?
Everybody.
Oh, sure. Well,
Mac
Spurs
McClung will
up for the
be
play.
playing.
Yeah, I did see that. Spurs up for the
Furphy,
Pacers.
Toppin,
That's not the point. All right, we'll get to that later.
Okay,
We're back to football.
okay.
All right,
Hospital Squad.
Packing the rock.
that's the score predictions for this week. Indiana plays Maryland on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. on CBS.
And WIOX Sports.
Who's got the call?
Oh, Ian Plaskoff and Nick Rodecap. Thanks for asking.
Who are those
Wow.
two guys?
Bunch of bombs.
I think it's the guy next to me is Ian Plaskoff.
Yeah.
And the guy across from me is Nick Rodecap.
Yeah.
And then there's also Ava Wegenke.
Not
Wow.
calling the game. Notably
She's
not calling the game.
but she's Ava Wegenke. And I'm
Correct.
William Stewart. Thank you for joining us this week on Pack the Rock podcast. Follow along with HN for all your Indiana athletics needs. Follow along with us for all your Indiana football updates. Thank you all for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week.